We're a decorated team of athletes.
And their coach.
And we are here to have a meaningful conversations around high performance, disability, and the power of culture.
We're here to share our journeys as elite athletes,
to inspire, motivate, and teach you
to build strong, diverse, and inclusive cultures
that break barriers, embrace resilience, and unlock potential.
In sports,
business,
and life.
Through stories and impactful discussions,
you're going to learn how to create a world where diverse perspectives fuel high performance,
inclusion drives innovation, and strong cultures power individuals to thrive.
So pull up a chair
and join us for a meal,
a drink, and one hell of a good time
as we discuss high performance.
You can't say that.
You never let us have any fun.
Hey guys, should we get started?
Sure. Why not?
Welcome to
Welcome
to
the Resident Team.
Yeah. In 2018, I became the head coach for the Paratriathlon resident program, and ultimately we became the most successful program in the history of Paratri. We had 7 medals between the Tokyo Paralympics and the Paris Paralympics, and then we also had over 14, we had 14 Paralympians that were a part of that program as well, plus quite a few world championships. I think though that one of the greatest things about that program and being a part of that program was the culture and what we created and what we became and how we were ultimately able to do more as a team than any one of us could have done individually. And that's really, really powerful. And with that, I want to introduce this incredible team. So Haley, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I was, I think maybe the OG resident team member. You and I started working together a year prior. I'd been doing triathlon for probably about 7 years at that point, had been to 1 Paralympics, and, we started working together back when I was living in Chicago. And then this idea that the resident team was going to be starting in Colorado Springs kind of came about. And that idea was really enticing to me just because I know that I really thrive in a team environment. And so, and also knowing that you were kind of the coach of it anyway, it just made sense for me. So I picked up my life and I moved from Chicago to Colorado Springs to be a part of that first crop of athletes.
Culturally, basically the same thing, right? Chicago and Colorado Springs.
Oh yeah, very much so. Yeah, there was no culture shock whatsoever.
I think so.
Yeah.
And then we had Mo.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's kind of crazy because I was trained for Rio. I went to Rio representing my home country, Morocco. But throughout that process, I've been traveling all the time because I lived in the US back then. And every time I'm traveling, I'm with the US team. And like traveling with them, meeting with them, staying in the same hotel. And before 2016, I built that relationship with the US team. And because I was the only triathlete from Morocco, so I was alone. But when I'm traveling, I'm with the US team. So right after Rio, made the decision to switch to represent Team USA. And I didn't know that there is a resident team or there is a team, but I started the process. And a couple of months later, Amanda contact, and there is this team. We're gonna be training together. Blah blah blah. This is the first thing.
Yeah, Amanda was our director, our amazing director who had this vision for the resident team back then. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of things that were happening. Rio is supposed to be the end for me.
Wait, 2016.
Yeah. This is what I promised my wife, and then 2 months later, say, hey, do you want to move to Colorado? So
and it wasn't just you. I mean, the kids came too. It was a family move. Yeah.
My wife had to leave her job. We have to move our family to Colorado Springs. And for me, it's just being able to train with the team at the training center. Just for me, that was a dream. So it was an easy decision for me. Yeah.
It was an incredible addition. We were so pumped to have you. Howie.
What's up? Origin story. So I got hurt in 2012, medically retired from the Army, moved to Denver. And in 2014, the Colorado Springs used to host the Warrior Games. And I went there as a SOCOM wounded warrior. And I remember being on the campus and looking around. I'm getting goosebumps right now. and looking around as we competed and just being like, man, like how crazy would it be to live and train at the Olympic Training Center like full time? And flash forward to 2017, and Amanda reached out to me and was like, hey, you should apply for this program. And I hadn't been to a games. I didn't think I was anywhere near going to a games, but I applied and was one of the first 4 on the team and got to move from Denver down to Colorado Springs. I remember moving in, it was April Fool's Day, and I kept messaging Amanda and I was like, I swear, if I get there and this is a joke, like I'm going to be so mad. But instead, like became part of a team that, to me as a vet, like really resembled that idea of like living on base and, you know, a short walk to where you're going to start training and you train with your team. And it just hit home and really gave me a even better sense of community as I entered, you know, the disabled world.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Howie. Kyle, tell us about how you got into the resident team.
Oh my gosh. Gather around. It's story time. Yeah. So I actually, I had been doing triathlon since like 2015 at that point, and I was part of the second crop of athletes that you guys brought in. And you know, I had quit my job in 2016 to move to Colorado full time. I was renting from my parents at the time, and just I was having a hard time finding employment, so I was just training all the time, and I was having to take a bus from from the hill just down down the hill from my parents' house all the way up to Aspen. And it was I was doing like 90 minutes of commuting each way to get to a pool, and I had this trainer and a treadmill in my garage, and I was just doing a lot of solo training and spending a lot of time sitting on buses, and I was getting better, but I for me being totally blind, this idea of being part of a team that could push me to whole new levels was really, really appealing. And I actually got the opportunity to attend one of USA Triathlon's talent identification camps for blind and visually impaired athletes. I think it was in like August of 2018, and I was preparing for my third Ironman Arizona at that point, and Coach Mark Sortino was leading that talent ID camp. And I think I had met Mark like once or twice before, but like he didn't know who I was. I didn't really know who he was, and we were sitting at a booth at the training center, and he was like, "Hey, could you see yourself living here?" I was like, "Yeah, I could see myself living here on campus." And he said, "Well, you're actually kind of sort of good at this sport." So I would encourage, they're opening up applications, because we think that men's visually impaired is going to be in Tokyo. I would encourage you to apply for one. And so I applied, and I had no idea who you were at the time, Derek, and got on the phone with you, and your South Carolina drawl made me immediately feel at home, because I was, Southern.
Oh, come on, man.
Because I was just a Southern boy from Northeast Florida. And I was just like, it just felt right. And the being totally blind, the appeal of being on a campus where I could walk 2 minutes to the pool, 5 minutes to the gym, have a dedicated space to train, and I could just pour my entire life into training, which I was doing anyway, really just was awesome. And then when I got on campus and Howie rolled up and just said, "Hey, I'm Howie. Welcome to the team." Like it was just like, this is where I'm supposed to be.
He didn't say the cripple team.
No.
You can't say that, Mo.
No. But he did call me out for sitting at a high top.
Oh, I like how you use rolled up, man.
Yeah, he rolled up. It was like, It was like, hey, do you hate people in wheelchairs? Because
First time I ever lost rock, paper, scissors to Haley.
yep.
One of us had to do it.
Oh, that time it wasn't in the pool when we did the relay.
No, I've lost to Haley, but not rock, paper. Oh, no, I think I lost when we had to do the Pledge of Allegiance. So I haven't said this since sixth grade.
Allegiance. We'll have Melissa go.
What happened with that? Okay, apparently it's a later story. So my quick backstory. I swam the 2008 Beijing Paralympic Games, and I was a resident swimmer when I was in my mid-20s after losing my leg. And thought that my athletic career was over, started triathlon in 2000, or a few years later, ended up competing in the Rio Paralympic Games. And then after having 2 kids, kind of thought that was it. I was done. And I had my son Dallas and then my daughter Millie. And then Tokyo was a few years ahead. And I remember I came out to Colorado Springs. I was currently living in Chicago, was still trying to decide if I should go for Tokyo or not. Haley lived in Colorado Springs, and she invited me to do a swim workout at the pool. And I went to the swim workout, and it was the 10 by 100s that became a key workout. And I remember doing this workout at elevation at the Olympic Training Center at this time, there was 4 or 5 other athletes that were in the pool, and thinking to myself, this is how you get to be the best, is being here with these athletes in that pool. So I went back to my husband, Brian, my 2 kids, went back to Chicago. And I didn't even want to bring up the idea of moving everyone out to Colorado Springs. My husband, Brian, we had a job in Chicago. We had 2 young kids. We were pretty settled there. And randomly one night I asked him, I said, there's a resident team out in Colorado Springs. And if I want to make a go for Tokyo, that's the place to be in. He, without a beat, said, well, let's do it. We'll never know if we don't try. And I kind of did a second take. And I thought, that means we're moving our entire family out to Colorado Springs. And he's like, well, let's go. So we went, and after Christmas of December of 18, we moved everything out to Colorado. And I remember the date specifically, January 8th of 2019, dropped my 2 kids off at a brand new daycare, pulled up at the Olympic Training Center, sat in the car thinking, what am I doing? What did I just do? Went, got my badge, went to the pool, and that impacted. That was the start of something that I never knew could be so great. The team, the culture, the atmosphere. And it's such a big part of my life, that moment right there. So yeah, a lot of thanks to Haley for inviting me to that swim workout. That's what got me there.
Well, and we had so much history too, you were one of the reasons why I got into the sport. You were my mentor very early on. And so it was really a full circle thing,
right?
To then, kind of be the one that was able to convince you to come out to the team, and you added so much value. So
yeah, there's definitely history there, and credit to my husband Brian. That obviously, as those of us with families know, it's a team effort, and if he wouldn't have said that, it never would have happened. So
I think you skipped the part where you burned your house down in Chicago for the insurance money before you moved.
You know what? Right?
That's true.
We did have a house fire. Gosh, we lost everything.
Yeah, you can't just
you saved the flag and you saved the Purple Heart.
And I saved myself.
When you go in, you go all in. We get it. Yeah. And thanks for reminding us that some of us aren't loved and don't have families. So that was cool.
Where did I first meet you? I know. So
I met you at the
and I met how long after your injury?
Maybe 3-ish months, maybe.
You were doing rehab in downtown Chicago.
Yeah.
I co-founded an organization called Dare to Try, as many of us know. We get athletes with disabilities into the sport of triathlon. And my other co-founder, Carrie, I think met you initially. Yeah. So Howie and I go way back too. So them being, I got pictures of Howie when, you're like half the size of you are now.
Tiny little guy. Yeah.
I think she's half fat, but that's cool too. Man, just jabs. Just get me.
Man, we really did break Melissa.
Seeing you, I think pretty quickly we became part of this, after breakfast, we would go to this table that became the resident table that we sat at after breakfast, and having everyone there. And it was very quickly, the culture was formed very quickly that this is where I wanted to be. This was it.
All right, Kendall,
I had the opportunity before, the year before I moved out to the training center to join the resident team. I was with, so I also do a winter sport, and I was with my winter team for the entire winter straight. And that was the first opportunity I had to train in person with a team consistently. And as soon as I realized that I was going to go to Tokyo and that was what I was shooting for, I knew that I wanted to be back in that team environment, because that was so important for me leading into my first winter games. And I just wanted to kind of recreate that as much as I could for triathlon. And so, I think kind of a similar theme. I didn't know that much about Derek, but I knew Haley. And so I came out to the training center. Haley took me on a bike ride. We trained together. I think I met you, Derek. I maybe talked to you on the phone maybe once. And I just kind of knew, like, I felt comfortable with the people that were in the program. But I knew that I needed to be in person training with a team. And that's always been the most important part about being out in Colorado Springs. I think we can all train on our own and train really hard and kind of figure that out. But being together as a team is like, you can't speak enough to that, of what that does for your performance. And yeah, I had to be a part of it.
Yeah. And I mean, I think what's so cool is, like, and that was 2018, 2019. We all came into this like as a bunch of individuals, and look at us here in 2025. All these years later, Kendall couldn't have said it better. Like, it's a team. Like, it became a team. A bunch of individuals became a team, and what I saw was those individuals accomplishing like so much more because they were part of a team. And I'm super excited to talk more about that and more about the culture and how you guys built it and how you were a part of it. And Melissa alluded to it, like, so much of being a team and what we became was like that breakfast table. And that's representative of like these conversations that we're going to be having around the table, and inviting other people into that table and other people into that space. And that space became like it became a safe space. It became a safe space for us to laugh and to talk about training and talk about racing. But like, we also cried there, and we comforted each other, and we encouraged each other. And I don't think we knew it at the time. It just happened organically, but it became representative and symbolic of so much of what we were able to do, and so much of how we grew as a culture and grew as a team. And man, it's been a while. I mean, we're what, 6 months post Paris now, and it's really been since the last games that we all sat around the table. But I'm pumped to be back here, to be sitting around a table with all you guys and talking about stuff that's so important to us, and that I think we all have a different perspective that we'll be able to offer.
I have a question for you, Derek. Did you, when you came in, so here we all are sitting around this many years later, like, when you came in as a coach, is that something that you expected? Like, was that your idea to create something like that, or was it organic as it created?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think, Amanda, who we talked about, who was the director at that time, had this vision, and she sold this vision pretty hard to me, of like, this is what I want. This is what I want to see. And I was totally aligned with her direction. I to be totally frank, I had no idea that it would become what it became, in terms of just the relationships and the stories and the things that we shared over the 7-8 years into the games. And I think that's actually a good thing, because I feel like if you try to force something like that, you lose authenticity. And something that's so important about being in an environment like this is like authenticity. And we had that in spades, as I look over at Howie wearing authentic Howie gear.
So before moving on, like, how did you end up the coach? Like, where were you in your life? Like, how did you be? Yeah.
Backstory.
Yeah,
Backstory. Yeah. So yeah, great question. I mean, I think it's really important everyone understands I'm able body.
Really?
He was born in the dark. He was raised in the
Like,
dark.
Raised by wolves.
And so it was actually pretty intimidating thinking about like working, like how am I going to ensure that I can understand this process as best as possible and what the needs are for these athletes. I had been coaching for since 2003. So I'd been coaching for almost 15 years, working with my own coaching company, Dorada Training, and I'd done some work within the paracycling world. And then I'd also worked with a veteran outreach organization called Team Red, White, and Blue. And that had some para athletes come through it. And I really enjoyed working with those individuals. My wife and I had been in Austin, Texas for 10 years. I'd gone to grad school there. We stayed. And we wanted to get out of Austin. So we actually moved to Colorado Springs because we'd both been there prior and we love Colorado Springs, but just like, this is where we want to be. And shortly thereafter, Amanda reached out and said, "Hey, I have this idea. Are you keen on it?" Like, yeah, kind of. She's like, "Well, it's not going to happen for like a year, but I want you to come to Yokohama, Japan with us and just observe and see what you think." So I came to that race in 2017 to Yokohama. And Wes Johnson was there, and I think Mark was there.
Mark was there.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember Mark.
And man, I was just like drinking from the fire hose. It was like
That's when I met you. Maybe I met you before that, but I remember meeting you well there.
Yeah. Oh, that's why I was so exhausted coming out of that. Yeah. Yeah.
That makes sense.
I remember being like,
I do that.
Totally just like, oh my gosh, there's so much to understand, the rules, factors, and everything. And that's where Haley, you and I really, we had coffee at a Starbucks in Yokohama.
Yeah, I know.
How dare
Because it was a little bit of a casual interview. I was looking to get a new coach, and so I wanted to have like a casual conversation with Derek. And if I'm being honest, you suggesting that we go to a Starbucks in Yokohama was a little bit of a red flag. I tend to like to go to the like little local places, and there's good places in Yokohama. But yeah, I was able to kind of look past that because when we did meet at that Starbucks, I really liked just what you had to say, how you, hearing about your training philosophies and just getting your vibe. I was like, oh, I actually think this can really work. So,
and it did. I mean, yeah. It kind of did, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I got introduced like in that capacity, and then Amanda. Wait, did Howie have a question?
No. That was the Yokohama where Sarah made us do the close your eyes and pick cherries for like 50. I'm like, I have to use my shoulder, lady. I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah. So explain so people don't understand. That was a mindfulness exercise. Our psychologist.
Yeah, and so in the Army we call them cherry pickers, and it's where you hold your arm up and we have our eyes closed. And she's like, "Yeah, it's starting to hurt now, isn't it?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, we race tomorrow. Like, I use only my arms. And I'm like looking around. Mark's like on his cell phone, and I'm like, is no one going to say anything about how dumb this is right now? Like, come on.
Just put your arm down.
I wasn't
done that race.
it was in order.
Yeah, you follow rules, Melissa. She's an officer.
I know.
I get it.
Only mine.
Rules are optional.
Make the rules.
So then, so like we had that race. I started working with Haley. Started gaining some confidence. There was that guy Jamie Brown came into it at some point, and started working with him. He was another lower leg amputee, and pitched this idea for the resident team. I'm like, I'm game. I'm down with it. Let's give it a shot. But like, honestly, I was scared shitless going into that first day. Like, Haley and I talked about it a little bit. Kyle and I talked about it a little bit in Paris. But like, what have I gotten myself into? I have no business doing this. And it worked out, and I'm super proud of what we accomplished. And I'm just, like I said, I'm pumped that we're all around the same table again and we get to talk about.
So working with your first athlete, like what are your perspective or the idea that you have for each one of us?
How did you Derek, like you did, like ultimately, like we submitted our applications to be on the team, and it was you and Amanda making the decisions. Like what were the driving points and factors where you picked each of us?
Like hesitant on some of us, like, oh man,
I mean, was my rock climbing and wrestling background like a red flag? Like, I don't know about this guy, or like, Howie's, propension to jump out of airplanes or something like that. Yeah, like, I don't know about this guy.
Definitely the worst part about me.
Oh, absolutely.
I think part of it, I mean, all of you came into the sport with different levels of experience, and I think it was very clear that each of you had the capacity to do really, really well within the sport. Frankly, Kyle, like a big thing that I was paying attention to was like, how is this person going to contribute to the team? And I didn't get that right every single time, to be totally honest, but it was one of those thoughts of like, okay, triathlon's an individual sport, right? Like, so like it's an individual sport. We're starting a team. We're going to be working together as a team. I needed to make sure, I think that we had like the right personalities and the right individuals in place. We had to demonstrate success in some capacity, but to me, it was more about a lot of those intangibles that I was paying attention to of like, is this person going to do the foundational stuff really well? And that became something that we talked about a lot, is do the simple stuff well. Are they going to, support the team and be a part of that and a part of the vision and help it grow? So here we are.
Can I come back to something you said? Because I think this is just the idea of bringing in people with different levels of experience. I think that was actually one of the things that made our group so special, was that you did have not only different experience levels, but different types of disabilities in the para space. And that translates to different levels of performance, right? And so you saw that sometimes, right? We go to the track and like, I'm doing a workout that's completely separate from Kyle's because I can't run as fast as he can as an above the knee amputee. But I feel like the place that it really kind of, where we kind of all got on the same page was in the water. And I just,
Are we going to talk about this now, Haley?
well, no,
I got cut from the team.
I was thinking about this. I was thinking about this is what this, Haley and I are going to talk about our relationship where she broke my heart when she moved lanes.
This is what relay comes into.
well,
Relay.
Just kidding. No, go ahead, Haley. Sorry.
Because again, I think that you see this in para where there are big discrepancies, right? And especially in the bike and in the run and with the different types of equipment that we use. But in the water where we're all doing the same workout, we kind of just, I feel like, became one.
Most of the time when we did our swim workouts, we then went to breakfast. And like those swim workouts, like, I was usually the first to the table, and I'm sitting there like just shoveling food down, and and like just exhausted because I had probably the least amount of swimming experience out of anybody. And then each person rolls in, and we just like, how was that workout for you? My God, that was hard. Or I actually felt really good that day, and like but how did you get through it? How did you do this? How did you do that? And then it evolved into into other things. So I mean, so I agree with you, Haley, that like being in the pool, being in the water, we had each other to push and to pull us along, really, because it's in the water. It wasn't about pushing each other. It was about pulling each other along.
Absolutely.
It was just like there was a time when I finally got to a level where Derek had me, Melissa, and Jamie all on the same interval, and that was absolutely terrifying because I'm trying to keep up with those two over there in the pool. But then seeing how and then you and I were lane mates for forever, and like I was like, just keep up with Haley, all that kind of stuff. It drives us, and and then all of a sudden we're pacing each other, trying to. It's like catch my draft, like just catch on. Just I will pull you through this. Just hang on to me. And it was helping. It was giving each other a hand. It was giving each other a hand up.
Yeah.
And that really translated into the open water. I mean, like I think back, like Mo and I held each other super accountable to, like, we were like, if we want to swim 11 minutes in that crazy Paris water, we have to get strong. And so like the two of us, we hit our pull-ups every single day pre-swim, going, for the like 6 months going into Paris or something like that. Like it was like we pulled each other along.
I think too, just kind of going off that, Kyle, like, so the swim that we did, so it was every single day, right? So Monday through Friday at 7:30, we knew we were getting in the pool, but I think it became like,
well, you didn't actually
that's
get
right.
Excuse me. Some of us always got in at 7:30.
Parking lot, and I knew like where I was based on time, where Haley and Kendall's car were. Like, am I late? Am I early? You get in there, and it became this like, we came in, we looked at the board, we saw what you had written, Derek, for the workout.
Most of you saw what I read.
Most Kyle did not see. Kyle, do you guys?
I got so close that one time.
Why do you always
Kyle,
pick on that?
no,
Give him a color.
I just forget. I forget. But it became this like before we got in the water. I mean, if we had an easy workout, that pool deck became its own like place. I mean, and it became this like, if whatever happened that morning, we would sit on the pool deck and talk about it. And it became, I mean, not only did I look forward to the swim sometimes, most times, but I would look forward to before the swim also, because I think that became part of it.
Yeah. Good, bad, ugly. We talked about all of it on the deck.
I always like how
the
you and Kendo would talk about like the really complicated word puzzles you guys were doing, and Melissa would talk about the Bobby Bones show.
Well, it's the Bobby Bones show too.
I don't listen to it anymore.
You did.
I used to.
Well, hey, also the pool. The pool is where the pool is where Kendall became our glimmer of hope.
Yes, Glimmer of Hope.
Oh, I forgot about that story.
It's like y'all get at the pool, and I mean, sometimes, I mean, I think we've all had those days. Like I remember days where like my morning was just like something's happening, and there's like I'm like crying as I'm swimming. But by the end of the pool workout, just being together as a team, you're like, all right, whatever this is, it's going to be okay. And then you go sit at the resident table, and then it becomes okay.
Yeah, I think swimming is the one where it's not, you don't expect the same level of performance every time. Like, it's like a roller coaster of emotions, but you need to go through it.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that was really important, or like such a factor about this group, is we had that like on deck time, we had the time at the resident table, but when it came to actually like doing the workout, we were serious. So there's so much of it that we weren't serious about, like in our outside lives, but like when it came to actually doing the work, then it was like, all right, you're in the pool, let's go. And it was like 100% accountability there with each other on making sure we actually got the work done.
With that though, I think some of my favorite workouts in the pool would be when we were on an interval, and we would get to the wall and we would maybe have 20 seconds, and we would spend those 20 seconds just laughing. And then you're like, oh shit, I'm out of breath and I need to go again.
But let's do it. Yeah.
You knew it was a really, really, really hard set when like we couldn't actually do that.
Or like talking about trying to get in like really quick words of what happened. Blah, blah, blah. We gotta go, ready to go. Howie's wearing paddles again. We look over and it's just paddles.
He's PR'd for 750.
Yeah, you PR'd every swim workout.
But these paddles, like, he wore them so much they're all worn out now. Like,
oh yeah.
Do you guys remember? I guess it's really just Howie and Haley and Mo. Do you remember the very first swim workout we did?
Oh,
it was Howie. You remember it, don't you?
I feel like the workout you're talking about wasn't the very first workout we did. I feel like you're talking about the 50-50s on the 50 or whatever workout.
It was
40 50s.
40 50s.
We did 40 50s on 4.
No. No, this was, because this was the first year on the team.
It was the very first year. It was 2018. Maybe it wasn't the first workout.
It was the first workout I think we ever yelled at each other.
Yeah,
the first time.
No, it wasn't the first.
No, you remember it was 2K total. So it was like it wasn't 10. Maybe it was 20 by.
It was something insane.
Yeah, I think it was like 20. Well, go ahead.
Was it 2050?
No, it was 20 by 50. It was 20 by 50. And I'm like, man, I'm going to give them this workout. I'm going to just see how they respond. This is going to tell me everything I need to know about their attitude. So it was. That's what it was. It was 20, 50s.
40.
20.
Well, your 20s and your 40s sound alike, but it was definitely 40.
It was definitely like it was on like the most ridiculous.
This is
Okay,
my
40,
20,
50
my
is fine.
20 and 40 have been a problem over the years. I do acknowledge that.
Or 8
20,
years.
well,
Okay, so
all right. Well,
it was
I paid
40
the math budget this year, so it was 20 50s would be 1,000, and 40 50s would be 2,000.
Yeah, that's hard for me. Math, deck math was really hard at times because Kendall and Howie would then get into it and argue about it was right, and I would always
on the 55.
default to Kendall.
I'm a master lap counter though. I'm bringing that to me.
I always helped Melissa, make sure to know exactly how much we were doing
No,
that day.
I am a counter.
So it was the first hard swim workout you guys did, and for let's just go 40 by 50, and I said it was going to be on 45 seconds.
Yeah.
Like basically an unreasonable workout. So there were only 4 of you at the time, and had you guys do it, and halfway through, everyone was getting to a point where it was like, what the hell, man? What are you doing? But the way each of you responded was completely representative of like your personality, because Mo pops out of
How did everybody?
Well, I didn't even get in the water before I started it. So
Howie's like, well, I guess I'm just going to do 2K straight. I can't make that interval.
No. Wait. I did say that, but you were like, I was like, I can't do that, and you were like, that's a bad attitude. And I was like, no, literally, I cannot do that.
Meanwhile, Mo pops his head up. He's like, big old smile. Coach, this is so great. This is going to make us so fit, Coach. This is fun. And Haley gives me that look of like, all right, I think I know what you're up to here, and you're. I'll play along, and let's just get
but
the
this
work.
is stupid.
This is stupid. And then,
I'm like, I've never done 150 on a 45. Ever in my life.
Just try harder.
try hard.
I was trying as hard as I could. It was attitude. It was ugly.
Oh man, good times.
Yeah.
And
Those types of workouts do they bond you a little bit, because as we're like going to the resident table, like as we're making our way to breakfast, we're just like, what the hell was that? Like, he's just messing with us, you know. Like,
Well, yeah. So talk about the resident table a little bit. Like, what was so important about that?
well,
How did the resident table start?
here's how it started. It started before I got there, because it is literally
Oh shit,
resident.
things happen before you.
I know,
right?
and I'm going to steal part of the origin story of our resident table, only because that resident table is, it's there and it's got like a note on it. It's got a sign that says resident athlete.
All right, so we're set the scene. So we're in the cafeteria at the Olympic Paralympic Training Center.
Yeah, right when you walk in, first thing you see is a table that is reserved for athletes that live at the training center. No one else is allowed to sit there. And it was a high top table. I got there was a high top table. The first 2 months that we were there, I didn't sit at the resident table because it was a high top. And finally, I complained enough to the right people that one day we came in and it was just a low top table, and there we had it.
That was how the resident table started, and I don't even think at the time we realized how impactful and how powerful it was, and not only going to be like the success of the team, but I can't speak for all of you, but I can certainly speak for myself. Like, it impacted me as, personally, and I grew a lot through that. I think it helped me become a better coach, and no doubt it helped all of you achieve all the great achievements that you had. So that's our resident table, and there's a lot more stories and a lot more things that we're all excited to share, and we invite all of you to join in on that. So
Let's go.
Welcome to the resident table.
Come take a seat.
Thank you to our sponsors and partners, Dorada Training, Giddy Goat Coffee Roasters, and Tolsma Stockwell Prosthetics. If you'd like to support the show, please email theresidentTable@gmail.com. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram @theresidentTable.